Breaking news. Deuce McBride, according to Stefan Bondi of the New York Post, is, quote, expected to miss the remainder of the regular season, as the source confirms again to Stefan Bondi. McBride is out with a hernia injury and has been traveling with the Knicks, who have not announced a return from the timeline. So there you have that big time news. If you're just joining in, Deuce McBride is confirmed out for the regular season. Now, why this is breaking news is because Deuce McBride was originally given a generous 6 to 8 week timeline to return from the injury. And I actually heard when I went into the studios with Doug Lust and with Dexter Henry, I heard in those same New York Post studios, I heard that Deuce, his timeline of 6 to 8 weeks was very, very generous. Very generous. And I'm opening up the comments. If you want to comment something, I can respond to it on here. But I'm just going to share the screen again and show you. This is what I wrote on February 12th. Some people in the know on the situation feel that the 6 to 8 week timeline on Miles McBride's return is a tad bit optimistic and that it's not a given that he will return that fast. 10 weeks is more realistic. 10 weeks would be Monday, April 13th, the day after the regular season ends. It's important to note that the play-in schedule is 4/14 to 4/17, and the playoffs for the seeded teams will start on April 18th. So there is still hope that this timeline is accurate to what I heard, which was it wasn't 6 to 8 weeks, it was 10 weeks. And 10 weeks puts McBride to return at the playoffs. Now, this is a huge, huge, huge update because it takes care of a couple things for us. Number one, we will not see Miles McBride for the rest of the regular season. That will not happen. So there will not be an excuse that we didn't have Deuce. It will not be a theory of when he can come back. It is out of our heads, out of our minds. He is not there. It is interesting that they haven't fully put this off and said he's done for the playoffs. If he was to be done for the playoffs, I think they would announce it. The reality is that he is still in play, and with the timeline that I got, he is still in play to return for the playoffs. Now, here is the issue. How do you build knowing that this guy could come back? And if he does come back, where does he slot in? You almost have to assume that he slots in off the bench where he's been coming in. But now the Knicks, with their signing of Jeremy Sohan, with their drafting of Mohamed Diawara, with their acquisition of Jose Alvarado, with their signing of Landry Shamet, these four guys are going to have to, at least three, are going to have to step in for Deuce McBride and have a big, big impact on the floor. Deuce was considered, I want to enforce this so people understand this. Deuce was considered a part of the top 7 New York Knicks. And as everybody comes in, please hit the share button and subscribe so we can get the content out, so we can get the people in here. This is a huge, huge, huge update. Deuce was considered to be one of the top 7 Knicks on the roster. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl-Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, and Deuce McBride. And if you go back to the Philadelphia 76ers series, it was Deuce and Mitch that gave us the spark off the bench. The Knicks were down by 10 in every single game in that Sixers series. Let's go back because it's important to see how big of a factor he plays on our team, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs. He is a playoff performer. Did he struggle against TJ McConnell? in that second round? Yes, he did. He got ate up alive. He was a negative 38 for the entire playoffs against the Pacers. But he came back the following year. Big time minutes against Detroit. Big time minutes against Boston. Big time minutes against Indiana. Deuce is a playoff riser. He has confidence out the gym. You never have to concern yourself with his energy. You never have to concern yourself with his effort, his mental ability, his IQ. You never have to worry about it. He is locked into his position. Does he have issues guarding bigger guys? Sure. Does he have issues guarding some quicker guys? Sure. He is probably one of our better defenders. With all that said, and does he have issue in creating with the ball in his hands? Absolutely. But is he a shooter that's developed a knockdown quality to his game? You bet your ass he is. I rarely let one of those slip, but this guy is really important. He is so important to us. And now he is definitely out for the regular season. Rando writes in the comments, I wonder if this is Kevin Rand. I'm not sure. He says, Game 1 ECF, Deuce was great. He got that block. He was great. Deuce McBride. Let's get his stats up here so you guys can see what he's done. Career stats. So you guys can see what he's done on his career with the New York Knicks. Let's get these up so you guys can see it. Miles McBride right here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Here we go. This year, he's playing 28 minutes a night. 43% from the field, 42% from three, 81% from the free throw line. 3 boards, about 3 assists, 13 points in 28 minutes. For his career, 18.6 minutes, 37% from three. So he's taking a 5% jump in his 3-point shooting. And he's taken a 6-point jump over his career in points scored. Looking at his last couple games, just look at the production. Sacramento, 9 points. Philadelphia, 9 points. Brooklyn, 14 points. Dallas, 5 points. Phoenix, 23 points. He has ability. We know what he can do for this team. And he will not be a part of the rotation for the remainder of the regular season. That is breaking news here on Your Knicks. Let me see if I can bring you guys in here for some comments. And I want to keep it to the topic. So I'm going to send this out to the chats. Get that stupid sound off. All right, this is K-Rand. Okay, we got 2 K-Rands. We got 1 K-Rand, but I thought the other one was K-Rand. Can you venture to guess when he will be back at all? Too murky to tell. Again, I'll put this out here so you guys can see it. I am live on YouTube. I'll put this out here so you guys can see it. And Kevin, I will answer your question. I don't know if you just joined, but when I went in those New York Post studios with Doug Lust and Dexter Henry, this is what I wrote that night. Some people in the know in the situation feel that the 6 to 8 week timeline on Miles McBride's return is a tad bit optimistic and that it's not a given he will return that fast. 10 weeks is more realistic. 10 weeks would be Monday, April 13th, the day after the regular season ends. Important to note, the play-in schedule is 4/14 to 4/17, and the playoffs start April 18th. So that news that we just got sounds like the same news that I got when I was in those New York Post studios. And the news that is being reported is not Miles McBride is out a certain amount of months or a certain amount of weeks. It is he is not expected to return for the regular season. It does not say that he is out for the playoffs. All they are saying is, look, that 6 to 8 weeks is overdone. We were trying to see if he could get back. This is his realistic type of return date. So Deuce will not be back for the regular season. This is Killer Kamikaze. This is unfortunate news. Sports hernia is actually very painful to heal, and his lateral mobility will be impacted heavily because there's a lot of lift when he shoots like Ray Allen. I think that there's a timetable where he will get back to his normal self. There is a timetable where he will be dealing with it, but will not be at a risk of re-injury. And I believe from everything that I've heard that there is a very good possibility that he could come back in the playoffs, but 6 to 8 weeks was never really on the table. 6 to 8 weeks was never going to be a reality. So we have to take this in stride, understand that he is not going to be a part of this unit for the remainder of the season. And that if he should come back, it'll be a very interesting decision where Mike Brown has to do in terms of bringing him back. Now, a playoff series usually lasts about 10 days. I want to ask my good old friend ChatGPT. On average, how long calendar days does a 7-game playoff series take? A 7-game playoff series. Let's go in the NBA, please. In the NBA. Give me the answer. Stop telling me a whole bunch of numbers. 14 to 16 calendar days. So if he needs an additional 2 weeks, that would put him at 12 weeks. That would be 3 months. So if it's the second round, that would be 3 months. I don't think he's done, guys. I don't think he's done. Killer Kamikaze says, I'm not a doctor, my brother. I had this injury. It's not something that heals in a few months. Yeah. When did you get the injury? What status was your body in during that injury? And did you have the best medical doctors that the world could buy rubbing your tummy 24/7? That would be the question I would ask. And also, I'm unapologetically wearing the orange and blue goggles because I know how important Deuce McBride is to this team. He's one of the only dudes that isn't, he's not, he's not a kitty cat. I love Deuce. All right, we got our first caller on the YouTube channel. First caller in YouTube history. Ari from Manhattan. Ari, what's going on?
To be the first caller on your YouTube. Salute to you, bro. Yeah, I don't know what the situation with Deuce is, but I was under the impression that you made that Alvarado move with the foresight that Deuce would probably not be back until at least the playoffs. Minimum the playoffs, if not even later, honestly. I think that was a motivation in making that move. Maybe not the complete motivation, but part of it. I know fucking Harden got hurt yesterday with his fucking finger or whatever. Like, is he gonna miss the playoffs? No, or not?
He said James Harden said he's gonna play through it.
Oh, he is? He's gonna play the entire time?
He didn't play last night, but he said he intends on playing through it.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, whatever. Either way, it's good news for the Knicks, I guess, right? So,
The reality is that here's another reality. Thank you, Mr. Nick sends a super chat. He says, "Thanks for the news. I remember you tweeted it out first. Appreciate you, bro." Yeah, yeah. The reality is that a lot of every team is going to deal with somebody being hurt. No one's going to come into the playoffs with a full clean roster. Someone's going to have, the Sixers are going to have their issues. The Pistons are going to have one guy out. I'm sure they had Jaden Ivey and Isaiah Stewart, who were hurt last year. Cat was dealing with a finger. Obviously the Celtics have their issues. The Pacers have their issues. The Knicks, for the large part of the last 2 years, even with Tibbs, they've kind of dodged bullets. They haven't had like a major injury. This is probably, they have Mitch from last year and they had Deuce now this year. They've had a couple like multi-week situations with Brunson and Anunoby and Hart, but they really have had a pretty good luck and good fortune with injuries. It sucks to lose Deuce, but I will say this: losing Deuce McBride does not temper expectations from this season. Ari, would you agree with that? Do you feel like he's a needle mover in terms of, well, we didn't have Deuce, so therefore we couldn't win?
No. I don't think, no. The only way the Knicks is winning anything is if everybody plays like out of their minds. And I mean like everybody. Like I think Deuce is not, listen, Deuce will help, right? But I don't think he's going to move the needle. I think you need Brunson to average 35 a game in the playoffs. You're going to need Cat to give you 24 and 12 or some shit, right? You're going to need fucking Mikal Bridges to hit a fucking three. That's
whoa. Family show.
But you get the point. You get what I'm saying. Like people are underestimating what the Knicks are actually going to need to get to the finals, let alone win the finals. So everything's going to have to click perfectly, in my opinion. So that's that.
Yeah, not good news, but also not unexpected. Thank you, Ari, for the phone call. How do you call in? You just go on a space. Just go on the space, hit the request. I think we're pretty good here, though. I just wanted to hop on the YouTube and let you guys know that Deuce is out. And again, this information is coming from New York Basketball. And just to read the tweet again, so people who are just joining, Deuce McBride is expected to miss the remainder of the regular season. A source confirmed to Stephen Bondi. McBride, hernia surgery, has been traveling with the Knicks, have not announced a return timeline. And again, they originally said that the timeline was 6 to 8 weeks. I went to the New York Post studios, and I mean, I could say it now. Dexter pretty much told me, he was like, yeah, I've talked to people around the Knicks, and they said that 6 to 8 weeks is nonsense. Like, it's more likely 10 to 12. And again, 10 weeks puts him at April 14th. The Knicks don't play game 1 of the playoffs until April 18th. Okay? So that would be 10 weeks, and then 12 weeks would be round 2. So they're definitely not ruling him out for the remainder of the playoffs. They're probably not at this point. It doesn't benefit them or benefit anybody to say he's coming back round 2. It does, like you got to make it to round 2, and they would probably keep the expectations in house. And it's a little early right now. He's not even a quarter way through his recovery. So he's probably like a third way through his recovery right now. So he's had surgery, I assume, and he's now in the recovery process. And everywhere that I've seen said, 6 to 8 weeks. And then now they're saying, no, it's confirmed out for the season. I do want to run through a few tweets by New York Basketball because I think he had some updates on a presser. This is from Steve Popper. Cat spoke on ignoring the noise as Knicks ready to face Milwaukee where rumors have included him in trade talks for months. Kat said, I don't really hear the noise and stuff. I know people want to believe I do, and I really don't, and I don't care. I just focus on the present. I said it multiple times last year. I've said it again this year. It's about staying in the present. For me, I continue to worry about what's the task at hand. That's being the best player I can be for my brothers and my teammates here in New York. Continue to go out there and impact winning. I keep saying that all the time. I know you guys think it's redundant, but it's true. It's how I approach this year, this season. Every game is about how I can impact winning the most. This is from James Edwards. Mike Brown said today that he firmly believes that not calling play after play to get a guy the ball is the way to go in the playoffs against elite defenses. When asked about Cat's 5 shots, he said some of the plays for him that he did call were erased by turnovers. All right. And I think that's all the quotes that New York Basketball posted. Okay. I'll just get through some of the comments and we'll wrap this thing up. This is Rando7739 says last couple games tempers my expectations. Yeah. I think it's funny when people like try to use something they haven't seen to infer what they're going to see. I think the only way you can make an inference is based off evidence, and using evidence from a different season. It may help the conversation in sports history, but it doesn't really stand as a better piece of evidence than what you saw recently. I made a joke in my mind. I didn't really share it on Twitter, but it's like, it reminds me of like, if the Knicks were Flavor of Love, like the Knicks are pumpkin right now, and the Pistons are New York, and Knicks fans are like, we're going to be hoops in the playoffs. Like, no, you don't just magically go from pumpkin to hoops. You're getting outbid by New York right now. Like you can't even beat New York. Some like really tough, gutter chick. You can't even beat her. Don't tell me you're hoops. How do we call in? We read that. Killer Kamikaze says lower abdominal area throbs a lot, including testicular pain. Hopefully he makes I'm sorry, it's probably true. Hopefully he makes I'm literally the most immature person in the world for laughing at that. He makes a comeback with minutes restrictions. God willingly, we can save him for the second round or something. Kevin Rand says, thanks for the update, Left. Our top 7 is very fragile and every piece is essential. Fully believe our best chance at a ring includes a healthy and effective Deuce. Let me know in the comments whether you guys think that is true. Do you think that we need Deuce McBride to win this title, or do you think we can do it without him? I mean, it's that serious at this point. This comes from Nicholas Braxton. Nick says, Mike Brown has to adjust, and he has to realize that Cat is not Sabonis, and he has to call sets for Cat. Brunson has to adjust. He has to embrace being the closer, and Cat has to be way more aggressive. This is from Neville Jackson. You guys talking about the Knicks. You guys make fool of the Knicks. Neville, you are not going to change the way I act. I would challenge you to a debate on live, on camera, anytime. And I would like to know in real time if you knew what a hedge was, which you probably don't. You probably don't know what a hedge is, Neville. And your only purpose to existence is to jump onto other people's platforms and to tell them about themselves. But the interesting thing is no one will ever jump on your platform because you don't have one worth jumping on. So if anything, you just gave me a compliment by using your free will that God gave you, and the gravity of my free will pulled you in my direction and will continue to pull you in my direction because by free will, I kind of own you, bro. You kind of need me. So thanks for jumping on my channel and trying to diss me. But as long as you're in my house, my gravity pulled you, and it will never pull the other way. How's that for a comeback? I think if Mitch is not added to the starting lineup, Alvarado should. That is crazy. I would never, ever put Alvarado in the starting lineup. No. But I respect your opinion. I love Alvarado. And you know what? At this point, the starting lineup, I could go in the starting lineup. I think it does need a change. But I don't think that's going to happen. No stray. Knicks are like pumpkin. You can't turn into hoops. Greatest analogy I ever heard. It's a fact, bro. It's a fact. I love the Celtics fans and the Pistons fans on this channel. You know, Knicks fans can tell me all they want, but like, the Celtics fans and the Pistons fans, they be subscribing, bro. Like, I'm Michael Jordan, Republicans buy shoes level with this YouTube channel until it gets popping. I'll take anyone. I'm playing around, folks. If you can't handle a joke, unsubscribe and leave. If you're like Neville and you're like, you guys are the worst. You guys make fool of me. We haven't won in 53 years, buddy. We're inherently fools. There's no me making a fool of the Knicks. They already employed Antonio McDyess when I was 12. Like, I have nothing to do with this. They've traded 2 first-round picks for Eddie Curry. I didn't make a fool of the Knicks. The Knicks made a fool of the Knicks. Okay? They gave 5 years, $30 million to Jerome James. I didn't make a fool of the Knicks. The Knicks made a fool of the Knicks. They traded a first-round draft pick for Andre Bargnani. I didn't make a fool of the Knicks. The Knicks made a fool of the Knicks. Phil Jackson fell asleep during the scouting process and drafted Frank Ntilikina over Donovan Mitchell. I didn't make a fool of the Knicks. The Knicks made a fool of the Knicks. Okay? I didn't do this. I didn't make the bed. I just sleep in it like a whore. So don't come at me because I'm reporting what's happening. And I didn't even say anything. Do you see how desperate Knicks fans are for just to feel like they're high society? They gotta get mad at me for saying that Deuce is out. I didn't even give an opinion. I'm Neville Jackson, and you are making a fool. I didn't even give an opinion. I just said that the guy's hurt. Do you see how desperate Knicks fans are to just skip the pain and skip the process of winning? That they want to like denounce my takes and I say I'm making a fool of the Knicks. I didn't lose home court advantage the last 3 seasons against our storied franchise rivals. The Knicks did. I didn't do that. If I did it, you would have a right to say I'm making a fool of the Knicks. I didn't do that. I just watched the game. That's my role. I watch, they play. That's it. Jeez, I can't stand people like that. I would say Mikhail out of the starting lineup, but he's soft and it won't happen. Mikhail, after he did that stupid reverse layup, should have been benched. They called a timeout right after that. He should have been benched. And the thing is he'll get benched in a competitive game, and I don't think he gets it. Like, he was benched against the Rockets. I don't think he gets it. He was benched against the Spurs. I don't think he gets it. Like, I really don't think this dude has a switch like other people think. Like, I don't get it, bro. I don't get it. When it comes to Cat, Mike Clown never takes accountability. It's like he's against Cat. And we won't win anything that way. It's sad that we brought in a coach that don't mesh with our second best. Yeah, man. I don't know about Mike Clown. Clown rhymes with Brown. The hands in the pockets. If I would have known, I'll tell you this. This is one shot, D. I tell you this. If I would have known that Mike Brown has hands in the pockets as a part of his repertoire, I wouldn't have been a fan of the hire off Impact. I didn't know that this was a thing. Where was King's Twitter when we needed this information? Yo, the thing about Mike Brown, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. They never told me he had his hands in his pockets. There is no worse feeling than when the Knicks are down in a game and then you glance over at Mike Brown, and he's just like hands in the pockets, and he's just like, if you're watching on the YouTube, I'm just like, my mouth is dropping. I'm looking up. I'm like, huh? Just like, come on, man. Just look like things aren't going your way a little bit more intensely, please. I think he's got it in him, though. And that's going to be the best part about it. That first Mike Brown crash out. Because everybody, look, I'm going to share something, and I hope it doesn't get back to my job because we're like 30 minutes into a Knicks live, and it's public, so I hope I don't. If I get fired because of this, how about this? I go full-time Knicks content creator, and you guys are like, yo, this guy's he's big time, whatever. Behold the pale horse, whatever the guy's name is. If I get fired for this, just lift me up on your shoulders and be like, he's for real. Today I walked into this, I share a classroom with 2 other teachers. There's more students than my classroom's allowed to handle. And I sat in the other teacher's desk because I had to give up my seat to get all the kids in the class. And the teacher's like, I don't even know where I'm going with this. But the teacher's like, can you not sit in my personal space? This is my personal space. And, oh, yeah, it's like my first year on that job. I'm not about to be like, I don't care, it's your personal space. Kid needed a seat. I'm not about to do that. And Mike Brown's the same way. Mike Brown's not about to bug out and do it. But every now and then he gets a little, you can see it. He does it with the media now a little bit. He gets a little chippy every now and then. But I think it's going to come out. Mike Brown, here's my dare to you. Here's my ask. Get a technical. Get one. Get one before the playoffs. That's my challenge to Mike Brown. Get one technical before the playoffs. Show us your mean side. Do you think I think I have. Okay, I wanted to get to Spooky Warlord. What a name. Spooky Warlord. Man, that's a name. What do you make of everyone saying regular season doesn't matter when it comes to getting smoked by the Pistons 3 times? Seems like a cope. I don't know if you're a Knicks fan or a Pistons fan. It is a cope. It's a cope. It's a cope with hope, but it's a cope. Now, they lost 3 out of 4 to the Pistons last year. They beat the Pistons. The difference, I would say, is this. When the Knicks played the Pistons last year, you can conceivably understand why they played, I guess, down to the Pistons and didn't take those matchups seriously. You just came out of a 6-game intense series where each game was determined by a possession or less, pretty much. And you got your tail whacked 3 times in a row. That's different. That's different. So I don't buy that what we saw won't present itself. And it's like the other day we were having a conversation and Sean from KFS was talking about, Cade doesn't have a secondary scorer. I said, you don't have a secondary scorer right now. He said, yeah, but they're going to trap Cade. I said, we trap Cade. They just dump it down to the big, and it creates when you trap, it's a 2-on-1. And then when you pass out of the trap, it's another odd man situation. Either 4-on-3, 3-on-2, 2-on-1. You can't just trap somebody and then there's not an odd man situation. So they trap Cade. He dumps it to the center. The center now attacks the center, whoever our center is, whether it's Cat or Mitch. And then he can either shoot a floater or he can hit the cutting wing that's cutting down to the basket. This is not narrative. This is what happens. So the Knicks are just going to have to play better in their scheme. They could change around the scheme a little bit, but they can't. But you cannot tell me that the Knicks in the pit. You cannot say things like it's the same teams. It's the same teams. They're running the same stuff, and they're going to run the same stuff in the playoffs. The Knicks just got their asses beat. They don't deserve to talk about scheme with the Pistons in these games. They haven't even gotten to the 4th quarter yet. To be honest, they haven't even gotten past the first half. So we can talk about scheme, but if you're not willing to fight for more than 24 minutes a night with this Detroit team, you're going to lose. And they've proven it. Do the playoffs tell the whole story? You bet it does. Aaron Judge had 60 home runs in a season, and then he blew it in the playoffs. I mean, nobody was talking about the 60 home runs. There's a different type of pressure that comes with the playoffs. I'll say that. That I'll say. If you want to make the pressure argument, that I'll say. Do I think Cade can handle the pressure of hitting a game-winning shot? Until he does, he's going to have to prove it. He didn't do it in Game 6. He didn't do it in Game 4. He had his opportunities. People forget about it. So until Cade hits that big moment, and if he doesn't when the team needs him to, that becomes a story. It happens with every great player. Cade will not bypass that standard. It happens to LeBron. It happened to Michael Jordan before he became 91 Michael Jordan. It happens for everyone. But it is a cope. I've been saying this. Everyone puts all the blame on Brunson, and I get it, but Mike Brown deserves a lot of the criticism. Brunson is really a two-guard, but because of the roster, he has to feed everyone first. I said this the other day. Tough pill to swallow is that David Fizdale will win 50 wins with this roster. This roster's maxed out, bro. And I don't mean that as a negative. Any team could switch their finger and become the Knicks in about a year or two. If you want to spend all your assets and you want to spend the top dollar on your targeted assets, you're going to get a good team. That's why I laugh when people say don't tank. Teams tank because they don't want to be average. They want to be contenders. So if you want to be the Knicks, you could be the Knicks. I made this. I said when people were laughing at the Pistons, when the Knicks traded Durant, right? And they got the 3 conditional firsts, and they cleared the salary of Kemba Walker, and they got Jalen Brunson, right? People are like, oh my God, why are you crying about Jalen Durant? He's on the Pistons. The Pistons stink. The Pistons will never be good. I said at that moment, even when the Pistons lost 28 games in a row, you know what I said? I said the Pistons are closer in proximity. And I said this, and people may not want to hear this. But I said the Pistons are closer in proximity to a championship than the New York Knicks. And people were like, oh my God, you're crazy. How could you say that? And you get caught in the haze and the confusion of making the playoffs and winning a round or two, and you don't realize what is actually necessary to what assets, what cash, what liquid gets you the ability to actually compete. Now, do I want that to be true? No, but I'm not going to use my Knick fandom. I'm not married to the Knicks. Like if my wife says something that I don't agree with, as a man, I'm probably going to have to be like, all right, whatever, because I don't want to get in a fight. But the Knicks is not my wife. If the Knicks do some stupid nonsense, I'm going to be like, oh, that's stupid. I don't agree with it. A lot of you guys act like you're married to the Knicks. Like the Knicks is your mom. Like, I can't disrespect my mom. It's just the Knicks. They'll keep playing. You'll still be invited to the parade. You're allowed to have your opinion on here. Now, sometimes you might be wrong. I might be wrong. Is what it is. Just don't be like Neville. Neville likes to jump on other people's platforms because he's insecure about his own size. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like the fact that nobody's jumping into his world to see what he has to say. So he has to jump into my world because he wants everyone to know that I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't be like that guy. Do you think in the Pistons game, Deuce would be a true difference maker? Another good question. This comes from Hush Knicks. Very good question. I would say yes, but it does not help us in the department where we really need to win, which is, again, we keep talking about these back-end players, Josh, Deuce, Shamet, Diawara. Like, these dudes are not our star players. In order to beat the Pistons, The Knicks are going to need their talented players to play to their talent. Simple and plain. You're going to need OG Anunoby to show up. You're going to need Karl-Anthony Towns to show up. You're going to need Jalen Brunson to show up. And then you're going to need to play hard. You're going to need to play physical. You're going to need to make shots. You're going to need to do the simple things that the basketball game requires you to do. And if you do not check those boxes and you do not play to that ethic, you are going to get your face smashed in. That is what's going to happen. Simple and plain. And you're going to have to lose a game or two in that series at minimum, and you're going to have to face adversity, and it's not going to be pretty, and the game is not going to be 5 outs spread out, running the floor. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be tough, and you're going to have to survive a war. That is the reality. Deuce helps you win that war. More oxygen to the tank, I would say. And that's also, you know what? Let me keep this post up here. And I think this is why I'm really excited about having this channel, because comments like this help me create content and help me understand the Knicks on a better level. So I want to thank Hush Z Knicks. This is why it's important for the Knicks to get that top 2 or 3 seed. Because if you face Detroit in that second round, it increases the likelihood that you don't have Deuce. If you face Detroit in the third round, you might get Deuce back. Now you're guaranteed 3 months off. Good question. I'm just going through all these comments. Mike Brown is super soft. You never see him call a question to refs. This would be cursing refs out all game. Tibbs would be cursing the refs out all game. Mike Brown just lets calls happen and looks dumbfounded. I think that there's a balance. I think that this team tended to mirror Tibbs and complain to the refs all game and not play through it sometimes, and they would unravel with bad calls. You got guys like Kat, Josh, super emotional guys. Jalen, his dad kind of keeps him level-headed a little bit, but the Knicks do tend to argue with the refs a little bit. But I do think that there's a balance to it. And again, I think Mike is trying to balance his first year, but he has to understand, like, this is not the time to see if the water's cold or water's hot. Go out there and be yourself. I've seen you go nuts before. Can we adopt the nickname Mike Brown and Mikey Pockets? I love Mikey Pockets. How will the Knicks overcome Deuce's absence, and is this a chance for Brown to prove his worth? I think they're showing it right now. The Knicks pretty much have the same record with and without Deuce, by the way. It's really going to come down to the three-point shooting and Alvarado. I think Alvarado is your direct replacement, so you can look there. My point is Brunson shouldn't get nowhere near as blame as Brown does. Brunson took less knowing. Brunson's never going to take blame here. Brunson takes Knicks Twitter blame. He doesn't really take newspaper blame, big media blame. Nobody's talking about Brunson, man. That's just Knicks Twitter. Left going in these playoffs. Do you trust Mike more than Tibbs? I don't trust Tibbs. Never trusted Tibbs in the playoffs. Never trusted. What Mike Brown allows me to see is that I was wrong in saying that this team was a coach away. Mike Brown allows me to see that these players are prima donnas and that they pushed out Tibbs and they asked for a coach like Mike Brown and they got him and they tried to trample all over him and throw him under the bus. Like they're entitled queens, bro, at their core. Now, can you get somebody to turn from entitled to having a rock bottom moment and changing their ways? I've seen it. I've seen it in real life. It's not easier than playing the guy that's not entitled, but they could change. I'm not a believer in guys don't change. I changed in my life. I don't believe in you can't change. I think that's limited belief, and I don't believe in limited beliefs. Mike Brown can't really get this team a championship now. He can't. It's February 26th. Tibbs maximized better. Tibbs maximized, but there's a limit. Every year, this team fell apart late in those series. So there's a limit. So either one is not just to, to denounce Mike Brown lives in that world. I would not discredit Mike Brown and bring up Tibbs. I will say this. There are things that Mike Brown is trying to do that we asked him to do. Some of them he is doing, some of them he is not. I think what we asked him to do was to have variety of lineups, and we asked him to play the bench, and we asked him to play younger players, and for some parts of the season, he has done that in situations where I do not think Tibbs would have done that. However, we also brought him to pretty much unlock Karl-Anthony Towns, and he has not done that by any stretch. You cannot look around the problem and say that he has. He has not. Karl-Anthony Towns has regressed, and that's not for blame. That's not for no. It's just, here's the thing that I always say. I don't care who you blame. I don't care if it's Cat's fault, Mikhail's fault, Brunson's fault, Josh's fault. I don't care who you blame. The result is this team is not playing a good, consistent product. Everyone's to blame. They're a team. And that's the problem with this team, is that they look to finger point. When things get tough, they finger point. It's not good. Do you think we see a starting lineup shuffle tomorrow? No. Sorry, Anthony. I wish. And thank you for the support over the years, bro. I wish, but no. I think sometimes it's a long season, keeping guys engaged, sending messages, switch it up a little bit. But I think right now the Knicks are trying to win games more than anything. And these are the games where you really should do it against the Bucks. Put out a lineup. If it don't work, okay, it didn't work. What are you going to lose to the Bucks because of 4 minutes of gameplay? Yeah. All right, last one, and then I'm done. I read this one. This is Nick again. I think Mikhail was the worst move based on what they gave up. The trade hurt based on how he's playing. Yeah, because they can't make a replacement trade for that. That's the issue. There's also an issue. You can't make a replacement trade for Cat. So that's why teams don't do what the Knicks do. The teams don't go all in like this, because if you go all in, you're championship or bust. And I don't think people realize the bust part of this. I think people are being, we didn't win the championship. Like, no, if you don't win the championship, you cannot rebuild this thing. You can laterally move and hope and pray, but you cannot rebuild. Look at what the Cleveland Cavaliers did. That's what the Knicks can do. Trade Garland for Harden, do Hunter for Keon and Dennis. That's what you can do. You can make pivots. You cannot rebuild. And you can hope the window stays as long as it can, and hope that another team doesn't get dramatically better. But people like to say, we're contenders, we're contenders. A lot of teams can beat the contenders. They just choose not to be. Now, the problem is when you're in the mud, you think it's easy to get out of the mud, but then you look at the Kings, you look at the Hornets, you look at the Wizards, you look at the Pistons for a while. It's not as easy as people think to get out of the mud, but when you get out of the mud, you are legitimately going to be contenders. That's the thing. Once you get out of that mud, you're going to be fine for a long time. Start DOY is the last one. Spooky Warlord, and I guess he is a Knicks fan. Spooky Warlord says, start Diawara, make other teams put their center on him or OG and see if they defend it. Yeah, they did. They did with the Spurs, and that's why Mike Brown let him go. And it's interesting because hold on a second, I just want to see. Okay. I'm gonna leave after this. But Mike Brown pivoted off Diawara that Spurs game because they did put a center on Diawara, and he shot 5 threes in the first quarter, and he went 2 for 5. And it's so funny. People are like, Josh shoots 40%. Well, Diawara he's not a veteran player. He's open. He's going to shoot it. So we couldn't stomach the fact that he shot 3 bricks and made 2, but that's 2 for 5. So, I think people overrate the 40% thing because nobody wants to watch that. I'll read one more. No more comments, guys. Relax. This is from Farquad. Do you think Mikhail will play more physical in the postseason because he won't have to worry about the streak? Sad. If that's true, that's sad. Habits are easier to kick in theory than they are in practice as well. And he also faded away in the playoffs against he is who he is, bro. Again, you can think that the Knicks are hoops, but they're pumpkin. You can hope that the Knicks are hoops, but they're pumpkin. They're pumpkin right now. Just very like regular diner, miscast, stranded, Tinder pumpkin. That's all they are right now. It's a hit. It's a hit. They ain't hoops. Hoops is hoops. They're not even New York right now. They are pumpkin. All right, man. That'll do it. Thanks for the comments. What up, Gotta Be Legend? What's up, Matthew Hurley? All right, man. I'm going to chop this one up and put out a video of the Deuce News. But thank you guys for joining the live. And remember, to watch more videos like this, you can go through the playlist of Your Knicks and see other videos covering your favorite basketball team. This is Your Knicks.